I don't know if you know it, but there's a big push afoot right now for two very dramatic changes in our American political landscape. One of those is a concerted effort to do away with what we know as the Electoral College. The other one is to lower the voting age. I personally think both would be a huge mistake, and I'll tell you why in a minute. I'm J Loren Norris with the Leading Leaders Podcast. In just the last several months, I had a conversation with a young teenager. Well, I say young teenager. He was probably 16 or 17 at the time, and part of the conversation revolved around the fact that he really liked marijuana. And although his parents had busted him with it and told him, not in my house is not going to happen because it's against the law and we don't want that trouble in our house, he said, and I quote, "I think I have a right to do what makes me happy. It's constitutionally protected. And because it is, the fact that there's a law against it makes no sense. When I'm older, I will make sure that my friends and I who like marijuana change that law." That's a scary reality, because it means we're not driven by common sense, the ultimate good of those around us, the quality of life for everyone. We're driven by emotional appeal to one person, or one person and anyone they can get to agree with them. It's really a frightening idea when we realize that the reason insurance companies charge more for young men to have insurance, especially when they're single before the age of 25, is because they know biophysically the brain has not fully developed. The prefrontal cortex that helps someone understand consequences, long-term and short-term, of immediate decisions, that part of the brain has not developed. The result of that is that we know young people don't make decisions the same way that they will make decisions later in life. And because we know they don't make decisions now like they will make them later in life, we ask generally that they delay those major decisions until later in life. There's a reason. There's a minimum age on being in the Senate, or a minimum age on being a president. Lowering the voting age to accommodate the wishes and commands of teenagers who are not mentally fully developed yet. They haven't experienced enough in life. They don't have the level of education. They don't have the knowledge. And all they know is what they've been told up to this point. Even give them the maximum benefit of education, assuming that they started pre-K or first grade at 5 or 6 years old. Now they've got 10 years of education, or indoctrination, whichever way you want to look at it, depending on where they're educated. 10 years. That's all the decision making they have. And I don't know about you, but I have grandkids between the ages of 2 and 13. And it's not uncommon. As Michael Jr. said, he was sitting having dinner with his 7 or 8-year-old son one night, and his son looked at him and said, "Dad, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor." Or a dinosaur. Yes, their decisions are fickle, and they're emotional, and they're in the moment. And that's a challenge. The idea of removing the Electoral College at the same time also means that the states of California, Texas, and New York could determine every presidential outcome for the future. Win one of those states, the rest of it doesn't matter. Which means there's a whole portion of our country whose vote doesn't matter. And here we are back to an emotional base, back to making decisions for what a small group of mob mentality people can agree on. And all you've got to do is push that mob into a frenzy in one place. If you want an idea how well the indoctrination of our education system has effectively taken place and done its job, watch Ami on the Streets when he goes into Berkeley and other places in California and interviews college-age students and says, tell me about these voter ID laws. And they tell him why voter ID laws are necessary, why they have to stay in place, why they have to be abolished, because them being in place is a racist problem. It generates so much hardship on a certain class of people. And if you listen to their answers, the mindset they have about the people who are being limited in their opportunity to vote will blow your mind. In fact, I'm going to find that video and I'm going to put it in the comments below this video because it is so significant. So significant. The idea that you can't vote if you don't have ID because you can't find the DMV, don't have access to the internet, don't carry around ID, don't know anything outside of your community. And when you understand who it is that they're talking about, it's going to blow your mind. But understand, there's an entire generation of people brought up with this mindset who are about to be in your government. New Zealand went from the right to bear arms to a non-existent right to bear arms in a week's time because the political mindset of protecting ourselves from guns, not from people who do bad things, but from guns, has creeped in at an incredible level. The same mindset is creeping into our colleges and even our high schools right now. The philosophy of the schoolroom in this generation will be the philosophy of the government in the next. And people who have a different agenda than the average American know that to be a fact, and they are driving the conversation in your middle schools, your elementary schools, your high schools, and your colleges to their own agenda. They're driving that conversation to make sure that in the next few generations, what you know as an American will be different from what you experience. I challenge you as leaders, as you're engaging with people of all ages, but especially young people, speak the truth. Remind them of our legitimate history. Inform them on people around them, how they can be aware, how they can help, how they can serve, and not just look for their own personal feelings and what makes me happy. Because believe it or not, life is not about making each individual happy. It's about the common good of all human beings. It's about other people. If we can keep that conversation alive, we stand a chance. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell Elitists TV. Have a blessed day.